Well, let's talk more about the situation in northern Kosovo. Florian Bieber is a professor of Southeast European Studies at the University of Graz. Florian, thanks very much for speaking to France 24 this afternoon. You would have seen in that report then, and it's fair to say, these latest tensions rose surrounding these snap elections. Give us the backstory to this and why it's causing just so much unrest.
Well, the beginning was really towards the end of last year when Kosovo tried to introduce new license plates in the north to integrate the north better into Kosovo institutions. This was a legal step, but in response, most Serbs walked out of all the institutions in Kosovo. And so you needed to have new elections to fill those institutions again, to have legally elected representatives. The problem was that in new elections just a few months ago, most Serbs, as we heard in your report, boycotted those elections. And mostly so on the orders of Belgrade, of President Vučić. And the result is that you have elected mayors, but they are Albanian mayors who are certainly not representatives of the majority in those municipalities. And this is exactly the problem now. They lack the legitimacy, but there's nobody else really to govern those municipalities. And this is really kind of a stalemate we're seeing. And this has been due to the Serbian boycott of Kosovo institutions.
So if you were to speak to Serbs on the ground in northern Kosovo, what would the main bone of contention be? Is it the fact that there is no political representation from their community as such, or does this go deeper than that?
Well, I mean, there's a much deeper cause, which is, as we've heard in the report, Serbia itself and many Serbs in the north are not recognizing Kosovo's independence. Tensions between Serbia and Kosovo have been rising high in recent years, and the attempt by the EU to mediate a dialogue which would lead to what is called normalization of relations has not really yielded the benefits we're hoping for. And Serbian president has been trying to keep up the tensions in the region. Now, Serbs in the north have legitimate grievances, but they're also very much controlled. The main political party in the north, the Serbian list, is completely controlled by Belgrade. So there's very little space for local Serbs to develop their own political agenda independently of what Pristina wants as well as what Belgrade wants. So there's a lack of political space for local Serbs to really articulate their concerns and their grievances.
I mean, you mentioned the Serbian president, Aleksandar Vučić, who is, as we speak, placed the army on full combat alert, ordered units to move closer to the border with Kosovo. Presumably, this is likely to add more fuel to the fire.
It's also a bit of a show he's been putting on for over recent years. I mean, he knows very clearly that he cannot enter Kosovo itself. Kosovo is under the NATO umbrella in the framework of the KFOR mission. There's no way he can send in troops into Kosovo without risking a full-scale escalation with NATO, something he doesn't want. So he's really using it for domestic politics. I mean, let's keep in mind, yesterday he tried to organize one of the biggest rallies he claimed to be in history of Serbia. It failed miserably, and he tried to organize this in the backdrop of mass protests against his governments on recent weeks, mass marches against violence due to mass shootings in Serbia. So he has a domestic political crisis, and these events in Kosovo were very useful for him to distract attention from the fact that he's on shaky ground at home. So this is what he does. He distracts the message with nationalism and the Kosovo card.
I mean, Florian, in the meantime, both the United States and the European Union have come out and condemned this installation of mayors who ultimately are part of the ethnic Albanian or other smaller minority representatives. I mean, they see this as it stands as a provocation in northern Kosovo.
I mean, from a purely legal point of view, the Kosovo government is right. These are legally elected mayors. They should be able to take up their posts. But politically, it's certainly a disastrous move because it kind of suggests that they're trying to govern above the heads of the local Serb community. And all it does is really push local Serbs more into Belgrade's and Vučić's arms. And so from that point of view, it doesn't strike me as a very wise move by the Kosovo government. I think the problem is in the EU and the US statements, they've not made it clear enough to also condemn the violence by local Serbs, and many of those local Serbs are connected to Belgrade security structures, and so in a certain way it seems a little bit out of balance in their statements.
All right, Florian Bieber, that's where we leave it. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us from the University of Graz. Thanks, Florian.
Thank you.
Well, let's get you some other